Hey everyone, it's Ted from Mob Rules. My hair fell off again. It's that season. I don't know why. It's in the wintertime that it falls off instead of in the summertime. Doesn't make much sense, but actually it does. Anyway. So that was an aside. Here we have the Aggressor. You guys have all seen this before, I'm sure, even those people that haven't. And now, the reason I bring this guy up, because I think I did a video on him, and he showed up on that how to get rid of fogging. So he's all repainted and looking pretty, but a lot of people, I mean, that was like a really popular video for, a lot of people were really interested in the shoulder pads. And unfortunately, a lot of folks were saying, hey, your skills are beyond my capacity. I can't do that. Bullshit. So I appreciate the compliments, but the nice thing is these shoulder pads are wicked easy. And I mean, if you're using US dollars, it'll probably cost you like $8 plus like a hobby saw. And if you're doing a lot of hobbying, you really ought to get a hobby saw and a little miter box. They're really not that expensive. You can get them in most hobby stores. So for way less than what it would cost to get Forge World Cataphratii shoulder pads and retrofit them, you can be making plastic hard shoulder pads for dozens of guys. So I want to show you how to do that. It's just real fast, and then maybe we'll go into like some other options to kind of detail it differently than how I did. So because I have that kind of like with this guy, you know, he has that that kind of gear shape, you know, texture going on, the motif, since he's Iron Hands. But maybe you don't want that. So let's look at some other possibilities. So anyway, let's jump into it. So here we are. There's the subject that we're trying to somewhat replicate. Yeah. Then now we have the other guy. So I decided to do this with the Gravis Captain. I had one. Wasn't terribly sold on the pose. I mean, the pose is okay, I guess, but you know, when every Gravis Captain looks exactly the same, you know, I got to be the odd man out and have something different. So naturally, we gave him a bionic leg, and I did change up his arms. I don't know if you noticed, but his arms and chest are Cataphratii. So we are going to harken back to there with like our more modern legs, backpack, and the Marnius Calgar bolter. So I'm considering changing the Iron Halo out, but I just haven't found one. I know I've seen one that's the cog, so I might actually do that, or just like shave it off and put it on his backpack instead, because I'm not too sure how much I like it up there. It just seems a little arrogant. So let's start with what we need. So first thing, let's go with if you can get the evergreen. I usually use the 210. And that's the 0.75 millimeter, 0.03 inch rod. So this is going to be for our bolts, rivets. Then the next step is going to be the corpus of the shoulder pad. This is your 232, 3/8 inch, 0.375, no, that's inches, the 9.5 millimeter. Then this is going to be like a bit of an accent, and this is the 234, the 7/16, and the 11.1 millimeter tube. So those are the big things. I also am going to use this guy for the cog pieces. You could probably use a little bit thicker a little bit thicker pieces. This is the 0.4 millimeter thickness. You could probably jump it up a little bit. And we're going to be cutting it in different shapes, so the width really isn't that big of a deal. Actually, yeah, okay. So anyway, that's what we got. And also, you might need some other pieces, but we'll get into that later. So for the first thing we're going to do, start off with the 232. Let's see, we're going to need, let's say 0.8 millimeters worth of this stuff. I mean, dude, like I said, like, you know, we're using very little, that's inches. Okay, so it doesn't have to be exact. So, get your miter saw and your miter box, line it up. Okay, that's all we need of that. That's all. It's just for that tiny little piece. Okay, so then I have this dull X-Acto knife because I'm too cheap to replace my blades. I wait until they have the sharpness of a spoon before I replace them. So I also use it to scrape all the crap off. And then when I cut it, yeah, I used to take the miter saw and the miter box and just slice right down the middle. But I found that, oddly enough, that wasn't very accurate. But if I do something like this, usually it kind of finds the low spot. Snap. It's not always perfect, but you kind of want to cut this roughly in half. And then, let's see, I'm kind of marry them up a little bit. Let's get you zoomed in a tad. But we don't want it to be exactly half. We want it to be a little bit off. I don't know how much of this I'm cutting off. So just take a little sliver. And then, let's see, put it next to this guy. See how much. It's actually really close. Okay. And then see how it looks on this guy. Okay, I actually think that's going to work out nicely. And we're going to build this up a little bit. So I think unfortunately I did glue that shoulder a little bit too low. I think with the Cataphratii they have that double-breasted armor plate. But yeah, it's going to look good, I think, when it's all done. So, excuse me. All right, so now we have those two pieces. This is something else I was working on. Let's cut off a little bit of that 234. And this, we're looking for, oops, here it is. We're looking for 0.5 centimeters. I guess that's 5 millimeters, right? And this is just for the design that I'm working on. You might not want that much. You might want just like a little sliver or whatever. So now that we have the corpus of the shoulder pad done, you can do whatever you want. Okay. Okay. So there's going to be a little bit extra overlap on these. So we'll go ahead and we'll glue it on there and then let it sit. And then we'll cut the extra stuff off. There we go. Okay. Okay. All right, give that a few minutes and we'll come back to it. Let's go ahead and clean these guys up a little bit. All right. Okay, there we go. Oop, no, there's a little piece right there. Ah, we got it all? Looks good. Okay, so let's get some of this flat out. We need approximately 1 millimeter of it. All right, I'm just going to cut it right on top of this. Well, I'm going to make a little bit more than 1 millimeter. And I travel over here. Okay. And then, come here. We're going to cut it into little squares. Okay. How many do we have on this guy? Looks like about 5. So, squaresies. Okay. Then, while we're at it, because this next step will go pretty quickly. All right, we're gonna take off about 6 wafers worth of this 210, and these are gonna be our rivets. Okay. All right, we got a little pool. Oh yeah, we should have gone with a thicker piece. This will still look pretty cool. But... can't remember what I used last time. Okay, this is gonna look awesome. Actually, I think I might like this a little bit more than the design I have already. Okay, so while we're at it, we have that little puddle. Okay. Ah! These tiny tweezers for that reason. It's nice to have a sharper X-Acto blade. And it's also nicer to make more than you need. I thought about making more, but it's like, no, I got this. Okay, there we go. 1 shoulder pad. So let's let this set and then we'll dry fit it. Okay, and then I was kind of thinking, all right, adjusting my, forget it. So what if we, I like the idea of like a little ridge kind of coming up along there. So what if we took, going back to those pieces that I had off to the side, got another piece of plastic card tube. Maybe we just made a little circle. This one is a couple sizes bigger than the main shoulder pad. So we take that. Let's see, get our trimmer. And this is a pretty thick piece. I don't know what it would be. Is it maybe, I don't know, it could be like a millimeter thick or so. And then kind of go through, get the basic shape. Alright. Oops, I got some more we can cut off. Shavies. Okay, clean it up where it need be. Probably shouldn't soften it too much. Okay, so then, let's see. I really should be using something of a template to get this guy in the right spot. So I'm gonna use the bigger tube. You know what? No, I'm not. I think I might end up accidentally gluing it on. I'm just gonna put it on here. No, I should. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now I know what I'm gonna do. So this. No, that's not gonna work. Okay. I'm just gonna glue it on. I pray it works. Get it roughly in the center. That is way too big. Okay, that's not gonna work. Okay, I lied, it's totally gonna work. I'm just gonna put it on the end of one of these shoulder pads. I'm gonna file this down a little bit get rid of a little bit of edge there. We're going to wait for it to dry before we do too much, and then we'll slice it and shave out the interior. So we got to leave this for a few hours just to make sure it's nice and rigid. Okay, so now that this is dried, let's clip this out. Take some chunks out of here just to speed things along. Yeah, that works. I could probably just do it with an X-Acto knife. I was thinking about doing it with the Dremel, but just in case you don't have one. I actually find that it's really handy to be doing this with a dull X-Acto knife. Otherwise, I'd be going through the Band-Aids right about now. It helps also to have scar tissue built up on your thumbs from modeling. Okay. So there we are. It looks a little... I think I could probably work on the... how round it is. Okay. Looks like we got a little bump there. Alright. There we go. Gotta get that ISO down. Okay, so that's about like that. I think I'd like to shave off a little bit here. Let's see, how do I do that? You know what, I'd like a sharper X-Acto for that. So in the meantime, I'm just going to show you what it's going to look like. There we go. Could probably get a little bit of this guy and get those gears going on. You ever find yourself cutting pieces like this and then all of a sudden like one disappears and you hear a clink across the room? Alright. So there's our pile of checks. It's sticked all over the place. Okay. Get some rivets. And there goes one across the room. Oh, let's see. I think I lost a bunch of them. Okay, there's two. Alright. Blue. Wrong one. The humidity is so low in this house right now. There's like static all over the place. Okay. I'm only going to put on 3 of these. Oops. Shoot. Oh, no glue. Okay. So, I'm thinking about making some little, some angle pieces that kind of attach there. So let's get that prepared and while we let this dry. Okay, so what I did is I cut up a bunch of triangles out of that plastic card that we pulled out of the middle. I'd show you it, but there was a lot of swearing. So yeah, let's just move on to, and it was roughly, what I did is I cut like a chunk that was roughly 1mm by 1mm, and then cut it diagonally. So we have little pieces like this guy right here. Then we do the dollop of glue. And let's see. There we go. Alright. So we're going to do this a few more times. Hopefully I made enough. I have a problem with counting. Okay, that one's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Some of these you might want to glue in place and then trim down later. Like this one I might need to, this one I might need to shave a little bit. Let's see, get a little bit more glue. And looks like I did count properly. Last one. Yeah, this one's gonna need some shaping. Yeah, that's looking awesome. I like it. Got a couple rivets to throw down. And stick them in between here. This will be cool because I think it's going to add a little bit more personality to it for the captain. Instead of just the generic Cataphratii style shoulder pads. Alright, looks like I need to make one more of those. But there you go. Yeah, so we'll let this dry. I'm going to make one more rivet and see how it looks like on the guy. Alright, there we go. The finished piece. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think I like that extra bulky shoulder pad on his power fist arm. Yeah, it really gives a techie feel to him. But also, he's a little bit more brutal. I think I like that for a captain. You know, I think for me, you know, like some people have said that the Gravis armor, they didn't like the shoulder pads on it. It's not that I dislike the shoulder pads, but I think that for my army, I just need something a little more brutal. You know, they're not Emperor's Children, they're not Blood Angels. You know, like well, I guess Emperor's Children wouldn't have them, but you know, they're not streamlined, they're not elegant. I think for that aesthetic, this is my jam. I wouldn't do it on the jump pack guys, the Gravis guys. I can't remember what I always mistake the two, Intercessors or Inceptors. Intercessors, I don't know. So I wouldn't do it on those guys because I think they have to be a little bit more aerodynamic. But I think for the ground pounders, this is perfect. Like I love that feel to it. And I think that, you know, it's really easy to achieve. I hope that you try it out. Like just give it a shot and see what you think. And you know, it's not as hard as it looks. I think it's, you know, one of those things like when you first start anything, you know, if you're not accustomed to it, oops, a little piece of white stuff. You know, it's going to be daunting, but once you give it a shot, become accustomed, do a little bit comfortable with it, this is one of the easiest conversions that you can do. So it'd be a good way of practice a new technique. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comments about your experience, and let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. All right, have a good day, guys.